that's one of the most fun features is the people can come online, right? So people can join if they want to. They don't necessarily have to feel like they have to be or come over here if they don't necessarily want to, right? You're missing out on cookies and tea and coffee, and that I cannot reproduce virtually. We do not have the technology yet that is available to us for such dynamic pieces. However, that's all. Just give it some time, right? It'll be before long. You'll have a little apparatus that'll sit in your house, and it will make you anything that you want and or need, and that will be how. Yep. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy. So, yeah, between all the new self-driving car technology and everything else that's going on, and oh goodness gracious, before long you're just gonna get in your car and you'll continue to do whatever it was you were doing before and hit a button, and say, take me there, and there it goes.
So, still alive.
Mm-hmm.
So when she was a little girl, they didn't have TV. They did have radio.
Right. And radio was a big thing.
Radio was a big thing.
That everybody gathered around. That was the technology of the day.
And look at where it's come to now. That's just. My dad talked about they didn't have it in our bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they used to do a lot.
Yep. Things are so different. So different. Yeah, we do not, and you had to wait. So you would order something from the Sears catalog, and you would wait because it wasn't like 2-day shipping, right? It wasn't like this quick, awesome turnaround like we have now. Thanks, Amazon. Yeah. But it was some time. No, it definitely was.
I showed my husband like one of the Sears catalogs from the early 1900s. See, look, you could order all of that. And I said, think about that they had to wait because he's like, I've checked tracking and tracking hasn't said it's been shipped and it was supposed to be here today. And but you ordered it 3 days ago. So
yeah.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, you order stuff like a month in advance, and it would take that long to.
Well, it would take time to get it ordered.
That's right. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Well, so we have a 3-year-old, and just looking at her and how she interacts with things, in the difference between her and our older daughters, right? So we have a 12 and a 13-year-old, and the difference between them when they were young like that, and just that their overall experience with just things in general doesn't make any difference. She'll walk up to our TV and always try to touch it, right? Because she wants it to move. She wants it to do something, right? Because she's used to that, and it kills me. It just kills me. And we truly try hard. It's not that we keep her from technology, right? But we try really hard to limit the exposure, because I definitely do believe that there is direct relation to an overexposure, right, and oversaturation of technology with kids and things like that. So she does get to play, and she has games that she has, and and it's right. Yes, ma'am. Right, exactly. I need to be able to look in eyes. I need to be able to have conversations. I need to be able to do those things, and be okay with all of that, and realize that there are human beings that are attached at some point in time to all of those pieces. Okay, well, let's get started. So UDOIT is a tool that we integrated into Canvas. So what it is the University of Central Florida got a grant, and they developed this software. And so what it does is it plugs into Canvas, and it is used to check the accessibility features in your class. So it's a button, it's a little button that you'll push, and it will generate you a report. And it goes through and it checks like alt text, image information, your tables, right, your URL links, all of that information. It checks all of that to make sure that it would be accessible by someone, especially if they were using a screen reader, right? And Shanae and I had this epiphany one time. We were like, I don't know what that sounds like, right? Because I've never used a screen reader. I had no concept of what that is. And so Shanae found a audio file that actually is a portion of what it sounds like. And it was eye-opening. I think that's to say the least, right? Because when it comes to a URL link, right, we just put a link in our Canvas course. That link could be 85 characters long, right? It's HTTP:// www, and it's all of those. We don't think about it as text. It's a link. I can click on it. It's interactive. A screen reader will read every single character of that entire URL, and then at the end it will say links to external, right? So if you can't see it and you're just listening to it, by about the 75th character, I'm lost, right? And that's me, right? And that's not because I don't interact with it every day like that. So it really became evident for us that this is something that we need to really give to faculty so that they have the ability to really dig in and say, okay, what does my class look like now? How accessible is it today, right? And then how can I fix that? Because a lot of times we don't even know where to start. And that was where we were too. We were sitting there going, well, where do we?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. So
I was pulling it up. I didn't.
where do we begin, right? Where do we start? How do we make things accessible? And that's overwhelming, especially when you're going, I don't really know. I don't know what I'm supposed to know. I don't know what I don't know. So that's what UDOIT does. Right, so us as well. So UDOIT takes the guesswork out of figuring out what is there that works and is accessible, what is not accessible, and how do I fix that, right? So UDOIT is going to allow you to find all that information and then be able to fix that in a relatively easy way. It also looks for color contrasts. So disability isn't necessarily someone that's deaf or blind. It could be somebody that has a visual impairment as well, right? That they have trouble seeing specific colors or color combinations, depths of color. And so there are a whole list of accessibility features that deal specifically with what colors to use and what colors to not use within like an online, like in a course, right? Because again, it's not something that we typically think about. I know people that are colorblind or have visual impairments that are of severe nature or variety, but I don't know what that looks like myself, right? And so I try really hard to figure that out and see it through how they would see it. But even then, you're kind of at a disadvantage, I feel like. Okay, so I will show you what this looks like, and then you can kind of see, and then you can look at it also in your courses because you have access to it as well. Okay. So let me look, let's go here. I'm gonna look at this instructional design course that I created for this peer grade pilot that we're gonna run. So, and it's a class that I haven't ran UDOIT in before, so I don't know what to expect. Okay, so as you can see, right, it's just a typical course, nothing super fancy. I just have some modules in here that have a variety of different pieces of information, right, content pages and things like that. There are some pictures in here. There are some videos in here. There are a few live links, right? So you'll get to see a gamut, right, of what it's going to test for. So UDOIT is found right here in the side navigation. Okay, really, really simple. The very first time that you access it, it's going to take you to this screen, and it's going to have you authorize the application. So you're going to have to click accept, right, and then it will authorize you to be able to use the tool. So before you get to this screen here, it's going to say, you need to authorize, and it'll have your username, and you just click. I think it's a green button that says authorize. Really, really simple. Yes. Yes, you can run this as many times as you want for as many classes as you want, right? It's awesome.
Yeah. Adding things to the semester.
Yep, you can keep doing it.
And sometimes it's overwhelming initially because it will say you have 112 things to fix, and you're like,
oh goodness.
And so yesterday on our course template, I think it was like 80 things with either errors or suggestions, and I ran it, and I went and thought I fixed the ones that I thought I could easily fix, and then I was like, I want to see if my number's down, and so I ran it again, just so I didn't have all those ones I just fixed, and I did it like 4 times.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me. Okay, done.
Okay.
Fix that. Sorry, I brought it up in case somebody had an online question so that I could respond. So I didn't mean to have the actual recording going. My fault. Okay, so after you authorize it, it will take you to this screen here. Okay, so this is where you can also look at some old reports and see kind of how things have progressed, right? See if you fix things, see how things are going, all of that. You can find some more information here as well about UDOIT. It'll take you to the University of Florida website where they built it, so give you a little bit more information in that direction. Here's where you can choose what you want it to scan. Okay, so if you just want to look at announcements or you just want to look at the assignments, right? So you don't feel like you have to scan the entire course and then deal with everything all at once, right? If you want to just focus in on certain things, or if there are certain things that you know that you want that need to be accessible, moreover than something else, right? Like discussions are sometimes kind of a gray and fuzzy is not the right word, but it'll work. Area, right? Because you have students that are constantly adding information and they're adding their pieces in. So sometimes a discussion can be and cannot be accessible at the same time, right? Depending on what content is in there. And then as we add more video content in, it still continues, right, to add a layer of complexity in there. However, your assignments, those aren't necessarily something that is going to have a lot of interactivity in it. It's going to be basically, your framework information of what you want the students to accomplish and how you want them to accomplish it, and then what they need to be able to turn in. So that information is pretty static, right? So you might want to start there and then pick another thing and then pick another thing and then pick another thing. So for this, I'm just going to do all of it so you get to see, right, what it all looks like. So really simple, right? You just come here, you click, and you run the scanner. Now, it is going to run. It can take a little bit of time. It can take a few minutes, right? The longest I've seen this run was about 8.5 minutes or so, and that was with a course that had a lot of content, right? Lots of video, lots of things that were interactive, right? Lots of big moving pieces. Okay, so you can see, right, like under a minute, and here's my report. Okay, so no judgment, right? This is zero judgment, okay? I'm just throwing it out there, right? I know we should be the ones that have all this information and everything we do should be beautiful, and we're working on it. That's the goal. That's the ultimate goal here. All right, so you can see I have 7 errors, not 70. I have 7 errors, and then there's 60 suggestions, right? So things that are not necessarily critical that need to be fixed or should be fixed or are the glaring issues, but things that could be, right? That would make it easier for somebody that's accessing this through a screen reader or some sort of accessibility tool. All right, I can save this as a PDF, which is always great to have, right? So I don't feel like I have to continue to come back if I want to. I have no problems in my announcements or assignments, no discussions, because I don't have any of those things in this class, but, right? Okay, so here's where in pages you can see where we're at. So in the first one, there's 2 suggestions. So if I click on it, it will tell me, right, what those are. So my alt text be updated. So, and it tells you alt text is an alternative, non-visual way of describing the meaning of an image. So when you have a picture in place, we see a picture. What the screen reader sees is whatever that name of that picture is. So for example, you might see a picture with 2 people walking in a park. The screen reader isn't going to see that. The screen reader is going to pick up and it's going to say the name of the picture is 21469874, family.jpg. I think it's JPG, I think is what it reads out. So it's going to read it, right? So what the alt text allows you to do as a professor is to give a description of that picture so that the student who's listening to it can visually, go with me, get a representation of what that image would look like, right? And this is especially helpful if you're teaching a course where you have an image and that corresponds to something else you want the students to do, right? So, based on this example, based on this image, talk about what this is or how this fits, right? Or whatever this is. In theology, I know that they use, I think it's Intro to Theology. They use a lot of maps, right? So I can see questions being formulated around looking at this map, can you tell me this, this, and this? Well, a person with a visual impairment can't see that. So what you can do with alt text is be able to take that image and give some sort of descriptor that goes with that, okay? So that's what that is. The cool thing about YouFixIt is it's really simple to start to fix things, right? So it says right here, I can view the source. So this will take me to the actual place in my course where that is, right? So it shows me a snapshot, right? So here's my image, right, that it's having an issue with. And this is actually a GIF, so it's an animated picture, right? So I could now give some sort of information about this specifically. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. I now know what I'm looking at, right? And so now I can close it, and I can come back and click YouFixIt. So now, knowing what it is that I know about that image that I just saw, I can enter in alternate text. And notice it says 100. So you have 100 characters in which to describe, right, what is going on in that image. And so when you're done, okay, so I will go, okay, so this is course overview. So, right, so I'm going to come over here and say description of no judgment on my typing, right? You always type awesomely when people are watching you. Okay, so there's my alternate text, right? That's my alt text that I'm going to add. And then I simply just click submit. And so it's going to work, and it will physically go in and it will make that change for me. So I don't have to go in. I don't have to go in the back end of my class and look through the HTML, right, and try to figure out and pinpoint where that specific image and alt text and that tag is and everything else. I don't have to do that. I can literally go right here and fix things as they're necessary, right? And it allows me to do it from one central dashboard and location. Here's an error. Okay, so under this creating assignment. Okay, so here's this one. It says synchronized captions should be provided for pre-recorded web-based videos. So this is a video that I do not have a caption file associated with. And so with students that have a visual impairment, they need that caption file, because the caption file is what they can put into a screen reader or what can be read as the video is playing. So it gives them the ability to listen to or hear, for example, what it is that's being said, right? Their screen reader will pick that text up, that piece, where they may not be able to actually have the functionality of watching the video. They could still listen to, quote unquote, like read through that video section. So this is where it's telling me, okay, you need to be able to do this. You need to figure this out. There's a really great way of doing that. It's actually pretty easy. It involves using YouTube and another source. So YouTube is great. So what you can do is you can go to YouTube. Everybody has their own YouTube channel through the university, right? Because you have a Gmail account, a Google account. So you in turn have a YouTube account. You can take your video, right? You can upload your video into YouTube. You can unlist it, which means that nobody can see it, right? And it's not publicly viewable. What YouTube has is they have a speech-to-text engine filter every video through, okay? That video, that engine creates a captioning for your, like closed captions for your video. Well, now you have a caption file, right? So you can take that caption file, you can download that, you can export it if you want, and you can put it through, the website is called rev, so rev.com, and you can put it in there and then take, it's called an SRT file, You can take that file and it will translate it into just a regular text file. And then you have like a text, like you would in a Word document. You can take that text file and watch the video and fine tune, right, anything that may have been misconstrued or the words that didn't come across right, clean it up a little bit, make it flow, add your grammar, your punctuation, all of those things to that file. And now you have a full transcript of the video without having to spend hours upon hours of doing 5 seconds, right? Listening, typing, listening, typing, listening, typing, right? So I'm finishing up. I'm not working on it. I'm finishing up my dissertation. And I will tell you that methodology saved my bacon from all the transcribing that I had to do for the qualitative portion of my interviews. I turned all the audio files into videos, ran them through the YouTube's filter, then went through Rev, then went back and fixed them, right, and reread them again and made sure they were 100%. And it literally saved me hours upon hours. Because the very first one I did, I ran through a system like that. And my 10-minute interview took me 2.5 hours, right, listening every 10 seconds and back and back and back and back. Oh my gosh. By the end, I kind of wanted to die. Yes, ma'am. It's really expensive. No, because if I'm going to sit here and do this, I'm going to get paid well, right? Yeah, I'm going to get paid well. So I created my own system because I didn't want to pay anybody. I was being cheap. I was being so cheap. Oh, I was trying. Okay, so that's right. That's an error that it would do. So here's another one. Let's see if this one's the same. Yep. Okay. So here's another one. I have another video and I have captioning. Here's another image, right, with alt text. So you can see, right, it's going through and it's looking at all of those pieces of information. Okay, and it's giving me the option and ability and opportunity to fix those things. Again, that are suggestions. If there's errors, 100%, those are definite things that you want to take a look at first and foremost. If there's an error. But yeah, it's going to go through, right? It'll go through everything. Okay, so let's say you don't have a simple class like this, right? Let's say, what does it actually look like in an actual class that's got a syllabus, right? And discussions and, all kinds of really interesting integrated pieces that are all over the place. Well, let me show you what that would look like. Let's go.
Something else that wasn't flagged but might be flagged here was I pulled up the audio files that Jesse was referencing about what it actually sounds like if a student were listening to your instructions and it says, hey, listen or go to this document or this website to hear about Dr. So-and-so, www. So this is the bad example, and hopefully it's clear enough for you to hear.
Tabs contain this paper growing up digital. Links to an external site. http://www.exo.edu.jan98/feed_6/digital.html links to an external site. Says these students.
And then
I'm like,
I know, and that was a short one. But then the revised version sounded.
Tabs contain this paper links to an external site. Growing up digital links to an external site. Well, it says these students.
So in that case, they said where it. So I'll visually tell you what it looks like. But it says the name, and it will always say links to external site, and then what comes after that. But instead of saying name of the paper and then next to the name of the paper including the URL, he updated it to say in the paper, and then that was associated with the URL instead of reading the whole thing.
Okay, so here is UDOIT. Here is a class that I taught last fall, right? So here's UDOIT in an actual class. It's got discussions, it's got syllabus, it's got all kinds of really good fun features, right? So we're gonna have it look through, we're gonna have it look through everything. Let's run it.
Jesse, could you share the general accessibility design guidelines with people?
Yes.
The one.
Yeah.
The Canvas one that's where I have
Is that where that is?
the audio links.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can share that. I can send that out to everybody. For sure. So notice, right? This one's taking a little bit longer, okay? And that also is telling you that it's really not just looking at, oh, here's some surface things, fun. It really is going through every single piece of information, everything that's in that course to really do a really good, thorough job. And that's one of the things that we really liked about this tool. Even when we first heard about it, when they were developing it, and then kind of when they brought it out and showed everybody that was in the Canvas community, and then when they made it available for everyone, this is why we jumped on it, because we really liked the fact that it wasn't just an arbitrary, blanket, right? Oh yes, it did okay, and we're okay with that. I love the fact that it really digs deep and goes through literally everything. So this is why it can take, a couple of minutes to look and scan through everything.
Before it had 1 and 2, that means there's 2 sections you need to look at, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll see here that you can get a variety of things in the same category, right? You can have an error, you can have suggestions, you can have I think there's another thing that it scans for too. Okay, so oh, don't say that. Oh, so sad. Oh, that's interesting. I've never had that happen. That's the first time. Let's try it again. Oh, hurt my feelings a little bit right there. That really is. That's the first time. And I've ran that scanner, oh my gosh, so many times. That's the first time I've ever seen that happen. And of course, right, it would happen when we're doing a training and when it's being broadcast online. That's exactly how it rolls. Wholeheartedly.
But that's good, because then if we're back in our desks, if it fails, we won't feel like we
Right. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Aha!
Push it again.
See, click it again. Okay, so here's our report. So 528 errors, right? So see, I love it.
And that does go to show right now we're in a place where we are retrofitting and making changes to what's already been created. We want to get to the place where we are trying to do that as we're creating content.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am. Well, and the thing is too, is to say, listen, like we understand that there are problems, and this is why we're trying to be as proactive as we can be to looking at those things and saying, okay, we didn't know this information before, we do now. So how now are we going to be able to fix this, right? And it's also not saying it all needs to be done right now, right? You need to go and fix your 528 errors right this minute. Okay, but at least right? At least now you have an understanding of, okay, those things that's an issue, that's a problem there. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these that are here, right? Okay, so in the announcements, you'll notice that I have a suggestion and an error. So the error in here is, again, so I have a video, right? And I don't have captions. And in this moment, this is when I did a welcome video. And I just recorded the welcome video and called it a day. So now it's telling me, hey, you should probably provide a transcript. Well, I can do that easily now. So I can fix that one. Over here, okay, so student introductions. We have 2 errors here, okay? So again, 2, one of them's in alt text. And now here's a new one, right? So we have this table header. Okay, so we have a table, and in and through Canvas courses, tables are used a lot to kind of categorize information, right? They're used to house information. It's used to make it relatively simplistic to understand what all these pieces are, right? On your homepage, usually faculty will have a picture of themselves and then their contact information, right? Here's my office number, here's my times of availabilities for office visits, here's my email address, right? Here's, you know, the date and time of this class. Anything that's pertinent usually happens on the homepage. So this is a great example of what we call, of why a table header is important, because a screen reader doesn't realize, it doesn't understand that this information is in a visual table, because we can't necessarily, it's not representative, right? So I can click on this, and so here it tells me, so here's my table, right? So here it is, here's the little image that I have, here's the information, right, of what that looks like. So this is basically just my intro discussion question. So what I can do now, okay, so since I know what that is, I can fix it. And so now, right, we're gonna talk about which portion that we want to convert into an actual header. So this becomes, okay, this becomes a little more difficult. So table headers are interesting. So what you would have to do is you would really want to go in and modify all of your tables now to have not necessarily a blank piece of information, but something in there to where it would give them space in order to add these changes into it. Because, so if I come in here and I say, okay, the first row is going to be, we're going to convert that into a header. So what that is now going to do is, if I go back to, so if I go back into my discussions, okay, so you'll notice here that it didn't change anything about what it was that I was actually doing, like what you can visually see. On the other end, what it changes is it changes information back here. And so we have our table, right? And so it changes the information that's in here. So what happens is that as the screen reader comes, it's looking for a table, right? It's looking for a header for that table to be able to explain what that table is all about. So it could be that it's going to use that information and it may actually represent the table. It may not represent the table. My point to all this is that we are going to need to figure out a way to almost migrate ourselves away from using tables when we're using Canvas courses. It's going to be difficult because they're really nice and functional, right? It allows me to gather all that information, right? You can see I have a little image, I have this piece, it looks really good visually. So we need to come up with a better solution that also works for accessibility purposes, just so that it makes sense when it comes through a screen reader, right? And now I don't know what that sounds like. So when I made that change to that table, I don't now know what the screen reader is going to pick up. And so that's kind of where our what's the word I want to use? Our impasse is at the moment is I don't know, I don't have a valid and viable solution for tables yet. So that's what we're working on. That's kind of the crux, right? That's that one off. I don't know how to fix that one yet, but I'm working on that one. As to what would be a better solution instead of creating tables, because we use them a lot, right? They're really, really good. Okay, let's go back and see something else. Okay, so this is where you would come back in, right? And you would want to come back in here and look at these older reports. No, it works. It wasn't? That dirty dog. Okay, so you can see, right? Most of everything has between 1 and 2 errors. So nothing too big, right? Again, we have an alt text and a table. If I come in here, it's probably going to be the same thing, alt text and a table, right? Because I use them quite frequently and regularly for everything because I really like them. Devotions are probably going to be the same way. Yep, alt text and a table. So you'll notice, right? There are some things. This guy has lots of errors. Okay, so here's this table that was in there. Okay, so here's a new one too. So insufficient color, right? Color contrast with the background. So this one is talking about your color balance. So making sure again that you have something that is able to be seen with students that are going to have a visual impairment or are having an inability to see either specific colors, right, or whatever that is. So you're looking for something that you want to be easily viewable, right, and still function within your course. So you can come in here and you can actually, again, look and see where this is. So right, this one's talking about this banner that we have that's up here. This one's the same way, right? So we're talking about a specific color that's being used in this. This was an assignment? This lesson, right? So there's something on this lesson that I built that has this color on it, and because it's white on white, it doesn't necessarily like that. It's like, no, you want to make sure that people can see that. So this is also a good indicator that you can look at things and say, well, it's okay, right? Because it's just the background of a piece of text, right? Or it's the background of something, so it'll still be fine. It's just letting you know that normally there needs to be some sort of color contrast, and so it's just letting you know, right? So not everything is something urgent that needs to be fixed. Sometimes it's just something that it's picking up and saying, hey, this is a potential problem, just make sure that it's okay. Yeah, so see again, here's another color suggestion, right? So if I come back and click on this one, right, you can see that, you know, we have basically this kind of gray color, and it's just wanting something that, you know, you really want to make sure people can see what it is that you're showing them. See if there's anything different over here. Oops. Didn't mean to click on that piece. So table headers, color contrast. Okay, so here's another one, right? So creating headings for your documents. So if you put documents in your class, having a heading, so that way it just gives the page organization. And then it also just kind of clarifies what the content that student is going to be listening to is all about, right? So much like we would use to differentiate themes in like in a major paper, right? Introduction, research question, main point, right? Overview, those type of things. Using those same type of organizational pieces when you're adding content in really helps too, because it just gives it structure to the screen reader and what it's reading. That's kind of it. We can spend all day looking at errors if you want to, or I can keep going. Do you have any questions?
So when it comes up like the color thing, in that first box, it's showing you what color is there.
Mm-hmm.
And in the next box, it has its little gobbledygook description, right? How do we know how to change that?
Okay, so let me go.
It's
Hex codes.
This one right here.
Yeah.
Oh, these guys right here.
yeah.
Okay, so this is where we would want to either find a color that would be acceptable within the accessibility color ranges. There's actual specific colors that they say to always use or to stay within. For example, like light pink, they don't recommend using light pink. Or
That's in that document.
in the general accessibility. Okay. which we'll send to you, right? And we'll share, because there's a lot of really good information that's in there. But there's certain colors that they ask you to stay away from, and then there's certain colors that if you want to use color, they say that you can use that would be accessible. I think burnt orange is in there, and it's with the weirdest thing. I don't like. There's
What that is.
It's like code.
Right.
right.
How do you know
So-
what code it should be changed to, or how do you change that?
So this is where you can come in here and you can fix it. So this is where you would click the button. This is an old report, but if I wanted to, I can rescan it, and then it'll allow me to actually fix my color. So I believe I can. No, this one is disabled because it's an old report, but I can rerun it. Correct. Right. It's only on a current report.
Because you may make revisions
Yes.
since that report was run. You may have.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
right.
And that again is another reason why we really like this tool, because it wants you to be up to date, right? It wants to look at the most current thing. So you're not making changes to something that you already fixed. And then in that process, now you're invalidating it or making it inaccessible.
So do we have a class? Do we have? Or do we just use the class?
Oh, yes.
Do you have a sandbox?
I think it doesn't show up anymore.
Uh-oh, we'll have to make sure that we add that back to your dashboard. Okay. Let's find a color error.
So what you would do, you wanted to test some of the.
Okay, so here's the cool thing about color fixes. Okay, so here's when you actually are, when you're actually in here, right? So again, I'm going to view the source. So here's my color, here's my problem. Okay, here's how it's going to let me fix it. So I can come in here and pick something different. And so now you'll see, right, that there is, right.
Probably the bottom half.
So yeah, we're looking.
Like,
for-
can you click the lower part?
Yeah, so there's that one, right? So I can come over here and I can grab, right, black, because black can be seen by everybody. Okay, or I can come over here and grab this, you know, this, what is that? Is that magenta? Sure, right? Here's my burnt orange, because burnt orange works with everything, right? Dark blue if I want to. Here's this other like lighter blue. But it gives me these options, right? And so when I click submit, now it goes in and it goes in and it fixes that one. So here's another one, right? We come in here, you know, I want to go ahead and click this and fix this one. We can come back in and do, you know, the exact same thing and fix and go in and fix all of those as well. So that's how the color fixer works. So
you don't have to know your
yeah, you don't.
codes.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, you don't. And that's the beauty of why it's all baked in. So you don't have to know, right? All these different hex colors and color combos and this, that, and the other thing. All you know is that you want to fix it. Okay, let's do this and figure out what that looks like. And now, and this was in lesson 13. So I can come back over here in my modules. Whole trackpad, you and I are going to go around and around. Okay, so let's scroll down, find lesson 13. Okay, so now I come in here. Okay, oh, well that makes sense now as to what it was we were working on, right? So I know right off the bat why I'm having a problem. Because I made this really cool blue box because I was like, hey, a blue box is awesome. And I'll put white text in it because that's a good color contrast. And you can see that my accessibility checker thinks that I am ridiculous, right? Even though I thought it was cool.
Well, they actually white out
For sure. And so this is, okay, so here we go. So this is now, when I would rescan this, it would tell me that, oh, okay, now we have something that's else that needs to be adjusted. So again, it's also good food for thought, right? You're being able to look at things from a different standpoint and being able to see what's working and what needs or potentially could be fixed, right? Just because it visually looks cool to me doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be functional and be able to work for somebody else, just for them just to get the information. So I will sacrifice it looking cool so that a student can actually get the information, right? There's nothing wrong with plain text being plain text or a specific color in that color family. That's okay, right? And so it just gives you a point of view to make sure that your contrasts are good and that you make sure that things look a certain way and that you're creating a set of standards, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're creating a set of habits that as we create content, we're always kind of sticking to. So after a while, it becomes how we do things, right? It just becomes the norm instead of I have to make exceptions.
Although you think that kind of contrast initially.
Right. You would think.
And it wasn't.
You would think, and it wasn't.
So you can ignore those and just leave it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is one caveat they make. They said, this is a program, it's not invaluable.
Right.
So, yeah.
Exactly. No, exactly. Right. And I'm sure that it doesn't like this. Right. I'm sure that it doesn't like the fact that I have this really cool highlight going through this red text that I have. I'm sure that it doesn't like that. Or these boxes where I have these practice problems, right? But I have them highlighted, and it's to draw students' attention, their eye attention. But again, I need to maybe figure out a better way to go about doing all of this. So that's one of the things that we really like about it, is it just opens that up and says, oh, okay, this is good. This is good. So do you have any other questions? I've kept you now almost 20 minutes longer than my 30-minute session was supposed to be. So we've almost, it was supposed to be. And I like to, well, no, and that's fine, right? And that's fine, because this is kind of faculty care too. We're having fun. So I just don't want, if you had some place to be, I want to be careful with your time too, because it's important.
Have you had any feedback from students who use readers with navigating campus? I think that's my student issue, that it's not able to even navigate getting on and going through.
So Shanae's had more experience with it than I have.
I was going to say, you might have the student, is the student local? Or, well, I guess your program's local. Yeah. Never mind. I think some of it.
And that's the hard thing too, because it could be that it's a new campus is new for us.
Mhm.
To work out of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Or it could be that it's not accessible based on the program he has on his computer.
Yeah.
Right. Because which program are you in?
Counselor.
Okay. That's
So-
what I was thinking.
So
But-
what we have heard from Canvas is that their navigation, the global navigation, the side navigation, like all of those things, are screen reader friendly. That's the way I want to say that.
What?
Is what we have.
Canvas, yeah.
Yes.
So Canvas works to try to make things more accessible.
Yes.
I have had, I think I know which student you're referring to, and I believe, did he have somebody in the fall help him? I thought there was somebody with the Idaho Commission on the line who went
he's
through
been
that.
in contact with them.
Okay. I didn't realize he was still having issues with the navigation part. I know, and I have heard from another student who is in the theology department saying that he preferred to do his interactive Canvas through his email, which I thought was very interesting. He said, I'm comfortable navigating the email, so I prefer to just have all my notifications sent to my email, and then I click on my, I know how to navigate that, and I'm really comfortable with that, which was kind of surprising to me, but I mean, that was what worked for him. I think sometimes how courses are set up can also, like how an individual course is set up, can cause problems as well. And one thing that I know at least is helpful for sighted students, and I would be inclined to think it would also help those who have visual impairments, is to adjust the navigation. Would you go into settings, or I want to see what navigation is in this course, because we as administration, or like those administering Canvas and faculty, we don't really have control over global navigation.
Right.
We do have control over specific course navigation. And so on the left side in the course navigation area, there are anything that is black, as a general rule of thumb, is something that students can see. Now that's not completely true because students will never see the settings button.
Right.
But anything that is gray means that either you as the instructor have restricted that from their view, or there isn't content in there. So what we encourage people to do, and we haven't sat down with somebody who uses a screen reader to actually hear what that experience would be like, but we recommend using modules. And then in combination with that is hiding your assignments, your assignments, your discussions, your pages, anything that is going into the modules. So it's one point of entry.
Like put it, if there's a discussion, put that under the module.
Yeah, so you have your unit or your weeks or whatever. And so your discussions, your pages, your files, just to kind of reduce anything in that course navigation to only things you use. So if you aren't using collaborations, which can work great for some classes, some classes don't have activities that use that, hide it. If you're not going to use the lockdown browser, hide it. So that,
I think all my students appreciate that, because
right.
they complain to me that different faculty use different things, and then I've got all of those up there so that they can. And my thought was we can access it these 5 different ways, but I bet if I just do
right. If you say you go to the modules, you know we're in week 3, and you know how to set it up, you can just go directly there.
Yep.
We have had some other departments say, well, what if I want discussions out? And if they have a really good reason, if they use discussions actively throughout the course, maybe that does work better for them to not hide all of those direct links. But really, what we've found is students like to know where to find things. And so being very consistent in providing that, modules offer one way to access it. So you're not going, oh, is that discussion?
Yeah.
Could I access that in module?
Yeah.
Okay, it is in modules, but could I access that in assignments? Or is that one a not graded one and they have to go to discussions? Because some of the assignments could be in 2 or 3 different, or I mean, they could be, 2 or 3 different places. They could be under quizzes, they could be under modules, they could be under assignments, all depending on some of those initial settings.
Well, the thing that I like about modules too, like Shanae was saying, is that it gives students a framework that they can work off of through the week, right? I was just talking with a faculty a couple of days ago about some updates that he was making to his course, and it was great structure. And my comment was, well, why don't you put an overview page, like a content page in there? And that just gives a student an understanding of here's the week, here's this section in big picture. Here's 30,000 feet right here, the things that you're going to be working on this week, or here's what's coming up. and then it gives them a preview kind of a sense. And then when they see it again, it makes sense to them. And then you structure your module in such a way to where there's a flow to it logically, either when things are due, or the order in which they're maybe graded or needed to be turned in, right, or whatever that is. And then you also can set security protocol on a module to where students can't move on until they complete certain things in the module above it, right? So if you want to make sure that they're actually either visiting or doing something like they're supposed to, you have the ability to kind of set those parameters, right, of what they either need to work on in a module and complete before they can move on, or what they need to have completed here before they can do this, right? So you have that ability to really get granular with just kind of focusing them, because students that have access to everything, right, can be like, oh, well, I'm done doing this. I don't want to do this right now. I'm going to go over here and do this, or I'm going to go over here and do this. And instead, sometimes, especially in an online environment, we don't necessarily have the ability to sit them down, right, and say, well, we're going to do this. Here's the process. Online, I can show you what the process is, but now if you don't do that and you take steps out of sequence, how do I then refocus you? And so having that kind of granular ability allows you to kind of, keep them still directed in a motion in which you want them to go into. So that's one of the reasons why I really like modules too. So just to back up what Shanae was saying.
It makes sense for students. There's just one place, and then it's sequenced.
And then my assumption, and I could be wrong, my assumption is how Canvas, because I was just looking into some accessibility things, not necessarily for Canvas, but just learning more. But there's often people with screen readers are tabbing through the content because you can't use a mouse and click.
Right.
So my understanding is that he could see like global navigation and hear what's course navigation, and then modules, I believe, would say, okay, week 1, do you want to skip or do you want to drill down? And so knowing, oh, we're already in week 4, I don't need to go through all of that's in week 1. I don't need to go through all the stuff that's in week 2. So just kind of tabbing quickly down into the module that I need, and then from there going into the particular page with information or the assignment or whatever that may be. One thing, do you have courses over the summer? Did you have a program? Okay.
Yeah, that's partly why I'm here, because I want to do a blended class this summer, and I want to see it there.
Okay. And that would be what could be really nice, because something we've talked about is if this is a student that I've worked with before, he's a very gracious person.
Yes.
And so if there's a possibility that we could even, like Jesse and I can meet with him and talk about.
Definitely.
Say, could you just let us hear what
Or all of us.
Even
Yeah.
the whole department to just hear what he's saying, and he could say, well, I know Professor so-and-so taught this course and it seemed a little bit easier for me to find what I was looking for, but then this other course I felt like I was overwhelmed with all of these unnecessary things, and but that's something that Jesse and I have talked about. We haven't gotten to that point to do it, but knowing that that's where you're looking, and now we have a couple of months to kind of work through things. Maybe we can set up a meeting
That would be awesome.
All sit down, because we're kind of ignorant and naive, and and so
and that
want
really
to learn
is
more too.
Yes, and that's really true. Like we really do. We really want to know. We don't know what we don't know. You know what I mean? And that's the heart of the issue here is we're trying to figure out how to make this better so that we can better inform, right? Thank you so much. And so yeah, that's definitely something that we would want to do is to figure out what would make this experience better. How can we better do this? Yes. Yeah. So thanks everybody for coming. Appreciate your time. We'll see you in a couple hours for the next one.